Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Cecilia, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from European Energy Metals. Please note, you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Jeremy Poirier, Chief Executive Officer of European Energy Metals, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol EUEMF and on the TSXV under the symbol FIN. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here today. Look forward to telling you about our story. Before I do, I will preface it by the fact that this is not my first time in the lithium space. I've had a couple of other projects. One was a Maricunga project in northern Chile, which just recently sold to Codelco, which is one of the world's largest copper companies, for over 200 million US. And then we had one in Nevada that sold to Schlumberger, which is another very large multinational company as well. So I've had some success. It's getting a little bit crowded out there since I started. So one of the things that I liked about this project was the fact that it's a little bit less crowded in Europe, and as I'll show you here momentarily, there's a number of battery factories being built there as well. So I always like to start here with this slide. You'll see all the different battery factories, gigafactories, some people call them. They're either being built, have been completed, under permitting stages, and as you can also see, they all have large multinational partners. And the other thing that we recently saw out of the EU is that 30% of their supply they want sourced out of Europe, and there's not a lot of places to do that. One of the places, though, is actually directly next to us here in central Finland. The mine's called Calibre. It's owned by a New York Stock Exchange listed company called Sibanye, and they're investing 600 million euro to build a 15,000 ton per annum, which is expected to be online in the back half of 2025. So some of our property is directly adjacent or within 3 miles of that property. Why Finland? I've worked all over the world, but this is my first time in Finland, and it's been an excellent experience. Consistently rated one of the top mining jurisdictions in the world. The infrastructure is excellent. You have paved roads all the way to our project. You have rail. You have shipping about 30 minutes away on the Baltic. Power. So just excellent infrastructure, good political environment, and Finland is relatively underexplored. So in comparison to, let's say, North America or the U.S. or Canada, which has been much more explored than over in Finland. So still opportunities for some very large discoveries there. Here you'll see a map of Finland. You'll see the different lithium districts. You'll see our projects there in the red. We have some projects in the north. We haven't started on those yet. So we've mainly been focusing here in the central Finland, as you'll see here. And as I mentioned, you have that mine being built directly next to us. So that's going to have a cash cost of right around 6,700 euro. And all of that is actually not surprisingly already sold to LG Energy, BAS, and some other Chinese groups. So just a lot of demand and a lot of money being invested right next to us. One of the other things that I really liked about this project is the hurdle for gaining a large percentage of the project and for discovery was quite low. We're not issuing a lot of shares. We're not giving up a lot of cash, and the cash that we are giving up here is mostly going into the project. So we've actually completed our project spend for the first 51%. Now we have the option to either form a JV or continue on with that 80% earn-in. But either way, not a lot of capital here for something that could be worth in the hundreds of millions and hopefully billions of dollars on a discovery. So, not a lot of dilution or capital. As you'll see here, really favorable regional geology. And the other thing that I'd want to point out here is that you can see how close their concentrator plant is and their hydroxide plant. So Caliber's hydroxide plant is actually in one of the towns that's closest to us called Kokkola. It's about 20 minutes away from our Naba concession, and that's on the Baltic. And they're not using their full capacity of that hydroxide plant either. So really excellent infrastructure, probably the best infrastructure I've had around that I've been a part of. And as again, you'll see here just a real close up of some of their deposits, and it looks as though our geology is similar and hopefully the same as theirs, which I'll talk about in a moment. But again, it just you can see there how good the infrastructure is. You can see there how close their deposits are to us as well. So you'll see here, I talked about the geology. You can see the bottom of till results there. What you can see there is that there's been a lot of lithium values discovered there in the northern tip. And again, just pointing out how close we are to Caliber. And you'll also see there some spodumene that's been discovered. So spodumene, for those of you who don't understand lithium hard rock, spodumene is lithium, essentially. It needs to be obviously broken down, and it needs to be, refined and turned into whatever final compound. But that is lithium right there. That's spodumene. And one of the other things that's really, really important when you're working in these Nordic countries is to understand the ice direction. And we think we have a good idea of we know what the ice direction is, and it looks as though we've been able to, which I'll talk about here momentarily, have a potential discovery here. So the other part of our project, I talked about Naba, which is the tip of the spear there at the top. There's Lapayarve east and west. So what we've discovered there is a number of large pegmatite outcroppings. So we start near the end of June, we started our exploration program. We blanketed the entire land package, tested every one of those pegmatites, and we hope to have results out this week that look fairly favorable. So you'll see those momentarily. I can't say too much more, but we've taken over 1,100 samples and had a very successful program. Here you'll see this is a quarry that's on our property, and it just gives you an idea of what we think the geology looks like across the property. It also just shows you how large these structures are, and what's really important is that these structures are mineable, and this would show essentially that here. And again, just to have a geologist standing there, and you can see just the scale of how large these rock structures are. So I mentioned the pegmatites. The one on the right I've been to. So that would be an outcropping. Like if we were walking there or driving there, we would see that outcropping. And then on the left, you see they peeled back some of the overburden, and you can just see how large these structures are. We've had one as long as 400 meters with a minimum width of 2 meters wide. So again, just pointing out that these are large potential mineable structures. All right, so I mentioned the ice direction earlier. Here's our VPX, Mike Basha here. He's had, it looks like we have a boulder discovery here. That's spodumene on our property, again, lithium. So we need to get the lab results out. Those will be out here very shortly, but it looks promising here. And generally, these boulder discoveries are very important to potential larger discoveries. And one of the other things that we've seen all across the properties is you've seen the pathfinder minerals that you'd want to see for lithium. So here you'll see beryl, tourmaline, albite, muscovite. These are all pathfinder minerals that would lead us to believe that we have a potential significant discovery here. So what you'll see here is two of the deposits on Caliber's property. And again, it's just showing here that we have very similar We have very similar deposit types, which again will lead us to believe that we could potentially have a similar type of deposit here. And again, that we just talked a little bit about the ice direction on a couple of their deposits. Okay, so we have two project timelines here. The first one is the tip of the spear. There's Naba. So again, we already had some anomalous lithium on the before. I think we had over 3,000 samples, and then we've got the Boulder discovery, which I showed you earlier, which we'll get the grades out there here, very, very soon. And then ultimately, we've had some pretty positive discussions with landowners, and we think we could be drilling sometime in Q1 potentially, or if not, maybe doing a bottom of till sampling to, again, define drill targets. But that's an advanced project, which we think we have a discovery on here. So that's the project timeline for Naba. And then there's the Lapayarve, east and west, which I talked about, which we've blanketed. We've tested all those large pegmatites that I showed you earlier. And that, once we get those results, we'll file for that exploration license, just like we have on Naba, and identify which parts we think we need to focus on. So just going back to those two slides, the thing I want to point out here is just a lot of news flow coming out, and there's been a lot of work done on these projects, so those results will be out shortly. I mentioned that Finland is a great place to work. There's three types of mining permits in Finland. You have reservations, which we have right now, and then you have exploration permit. Now, the exploration permit is what would allow you to essentially drill or do any large hoeing. We filed for that on Naba. We've had good constructive conversations with the landowners. Hopefully, we expect those permits sometime in Q1, hopefully early Q1. And then ultimately, you get a mining permit, at which point in time you can actually mine. So it's very straightforward, an easy place to work, as I mentioned earlier. So I mentioned my background off the top. The other guy I'd point out here is our chairman, Gino DiMichele. He's raised over $1.5 billion in his time in the markets. He's very successful, and we're lucky to have him as our chairman. He's a former investment advisor as well. And then our VP of exploration, Mike Basha, he's actually had a discovery in Finland before, in northern Finland. And that discovery was a company called Orion, trades on the symbol AU. It was a gold project, and it was a boulder discovery. So we hope that he's making his second boulder discovery here. And Mike's had many different grassroots discoveries and has dealt with bringing in large multinational companies as partners as well. So this is someone that we're really lucky to have. He's worked in country, and he's someone that we is invaluable to the company. So, and he's running the exploration. So you really need that technical expertise and that experience, and we're very fortunate to have him. Rounding out the team, you have Tim Henneberry. He brings additional technical support. He's got a 40-year geologist. Larry Tadai is an accounting background. He was the CEO of Mag Silver. He started, it was a $250 million company, and then when he departed, it was a $2.5 billion silver producer. So very successful guy. And Christos Doulis, a former analyst and investment banker. He's has been quite successful himself. So you can see very qualified board. A lot of relevant experience, which obviously is very important when you're dealing with public companies. And we have an advisory board that we're slowly building out. Rick Trotman, he's with the CEO of Bro. He's at discoveries and dealt with large multinational companies as well, as far as bringing them in as partners. And he has a geological background, so you can never have enough geologists and technical expertise on these types of projects. Here we have our comparables. So as you'll see there, we're at the bottom. The thing I would point out here is that we have plenty of cash in the bank, over $3 million, well capitalized. We don't have to go back to market in a difficult, challenging environment right now. And then as we release these results over the coming weeks, we'll be similar to some of our comparables here. that trade in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's potential significant upside here with pretty low downside. So really interesting, especially with a lot of news set to come. And a tight capital structure, right? That number actually is actually a little bit higher right now. It's about 33.5 million. So that needs to be updated. But not a lot of shares out, and most of the shares have actually been issued in financings, and the majority of the capital that's gone into the company is at 36 cents. And as you'll see, this stock's actually trading at 36 to 37. So we're trading right around financing price. We have a strategic investor that's come in. They own 14% of the company. About 26% of the company is owned by insiders. So it is a very tight capital structure with supportive shareholders, which is important, again, when you're in a difficult environment like we are right now. And that's it. I see I got a number of questions here, which I will get to, but it's a very easy story to tell with a lot of upside and pretty large potential land package right next to a mine that's currently being built. So I'll move on to the questions now. First question is, can we disclose our strategic investor? Well, you can actually take a look at who the strategic investor is because they own 14% of the company, and on CDR as an insider, so they have to file if they sell. I can't tell you too much more other than what you'd see on them, but obviously they have deep financial pockets and they're very supportive, so which is important. Next question is, can you speak to your capital position and funding for your 2024 initiatives? So yeah, I have mentioned earlier that we have over $3 million in the bank, and we have over right about $1 million in the money warrants that should come in early next year. So we got plenty of capital. We don't plan to raise any additional capital right now, because we don't need it. But if something came along and made sense, we would look at doing that. But no, we're not out actively looking for capital. And our 2024 initiatives is to, once we get these permits, is to hopefully roll out some sort of a potential drill program or a bottom of tilling program to better define drill targets. But we want to show that we have a discovery here. Can you explore and drill year round in Finland? Yeah, good question. Good question. So drilling, you can actually drill all year round. It's better a lot of the time to drill in the winter just because you have less disturbance. It's mostly frozen, a lot of swamps there. So it is easier to drill in the winter, but you can technically drill all year round, especially in central Finland. Now, for anything that you're doing on the surface, like there is a working season for that. For example, central Finland, again, is a little bit better than northern Finland, where a lot of the mining projects are, because you do have a longer working season. But your working season is sort of June to the end of October. We tried to extend it into November, but we got hit with quite a bit of snow first week of November. But yeah, so you do have a working season for anything surface based, but not for drilling. Next question is, what infrastructure is in place for your projects? Yeah, great question. Let me go back to that slide. So first off, before even getting to this slide, we'll just chat a little bit about getting to the project. So if you're going to our project, you fly into Helsinki, so it's a major international airport, pretty easy to get to. And then you got a couple of different options. You can rent a car and drive for 4 to 5 hours, depending on traffic and what the roads are like, on a paved highway until you get to the project. And then there's paved highways all the way through, or paved roads all the way through the project. You have power all the way through. You have houses, little small towns, at least nearby, not on the project, of course, but nearby. Or you can train. You could take a train to Kokkola, which is 30 minutes from the project. That's a town of about 40,000 people. So you could take a train, or you can fly, which I've done as well, which is about a 45-minute flight to Kokkola out of Helsinki. And Kokkola is actually right on the Baltic, so you have shipping right there as well. So I haven't actually had the opportunity, and I've worked on a lot of projects in North America, uh, with working on a project that has this good of infrastructure. Um, I can think of our project in Chile. You'd fly to Santiago, then you'd fly to Copiapó, which is up north, and then you'd drive for 5 or 6 hours, which half of which was on a dirt road, and we were pretty high up as well, so a lot of times you had to travel with oxygen tanks. So this is a pleasure. So that's the country infrastructure. And then even just around us, to have a mine being built right next to us, we have a concentrator plant, as you'll see there on the map, and then we have a hydroxide plant that's in Kokkola. So that, from what we understand, is under capacity. So I think you'd be hard pressed to find a project with this good of infrastructure. And then I have another question here: is the Finnish government providing any support to battery metals exploration and development? So there's been a number of initiatives through the EU and the EU governments, and some of the Nordic funds will invest in battery metal projects or other mining projects, and so we have seen those. We haven't been able to access any of them yet for our project, but it's something we're looking into. So yeah, it's definitely the clean energy sort of battery metal movement is definitely important there, just like it is in North America. And there definitely is incentive programs that you can tap. And as far as if they're supportive of exploration and development, again, Finland's consistently rated one of the top mining jurisdictions by the Fraser Institute. It's usually top three. You usually have Nevada, Quebec, Finland, so not necessarily in that order. They just permitted a mine right next to us. So yeah, you do have to follow the rules, but it's a clear pathway, and they're very friendly to mining development exploration through the entire cycle. So yeah, it's a great place to work. And I think that's the end of the questions.